You gotta have a strong villain on a show like Power Rangers, primarily because the whole premise of the show is good versus evil.
Power Rangers definitely would not be Power Rangers without really, really good villains.
There's nothing that bonds you more than a villain.
You don't buy into the danger that these kids are trying to save the world from if you aren't scared of this impending doom.
We always start off from a starting point like, let's make the villains as interesting as the superheroes.
What I loved about it is that, you know, you're on the streets in LA and there's this big villainess or a big villain and they just looked crazy, but that's what made the show very popular.
Unless someone is causing problems and conflict, it's not fun. It's not fun to watch when everything is just harmonious and everyone's getting along, so you need somebody like Trakina to stir it up.
It was just such a dream job for an actor. You know, you came in every day and it was happy time. You know, you had all these amazing kids running around, giving you a hard time.
My son growing up with Rita, you know, he would say, Mommy, why couldn't you be the Pink Ranger? But the kids at school would go, Rita! And I'd go, you know, and they would run away. And it was like contagious. It was fun.
The villain is the most fun part. It's the part where you get to be super animated and super evil. And when you're good, you have to be nice all the time. And I loved being really bad.
Oh, it's always fun to play a villain, isn't it? I enjoyed when I got to be Bad Cat. That was fun. Once you become the Power Ranger, it's a lot of being so good. I mean, Cat did everything from diving, ballet, singing. There was nothing that girl couldn't do. Whereas when I was the evil Cat, I got to play a little bit more, I guess. So I enjoyed that. I'd like them to have maybe had my character go back to that at some point, but they never did.
Those stupid teenagers don't know who they're messing with. Ah! Get the putties! It's time! All right, take that! Ah! So, how do I describe Rita Repulsa? From my standpoint, she's very misunderstood. I really feel a lot of sympathy for her, being that I was her voice anyway.
Lord Zed on the Power Rangers, I liked him because he was a whole character. He was wholly evil, and there's no two ways about it. And he was uncompromisingly evil.
Goldar was changed a little as we got deeper into the later years with him. It was not a normal character for this show. It was a very internalized performance. It truly was a tortured character. It was, you know, between a rock and a hard place as to do the right thing and what was the right thing. And I really enjoyed playing him because he was multi-layered. He had a lot of stuff going on, and it was fun.
Back off, Fang Face! The good guys are here! Get off our planet!
Because we're the Power Rangers! And we're not backing down! Yeah!
Tony says, Care, I want you to do this guy with the gold wings. I don't think he has much of a part, but you're the only one that probably can bring the big voice thing to him. And I attached just some gravelly, dumb voice to him. I only had like 4 or 5 lines. 6 weeks later, Tony calls and says, we're in. Oh, yeah, and your character, he's bigger than I thought, than any of us thought. I said, really, what's the story? Well, he's kind of like the henchman. He's kind of like the head henchman. I said, oh my gosh, okay.
Oh no, where is he? Where is he?
I am Lord Zed, Emperor of all I see. You have failed to complete the mission assigned to you. I will now resume command. Prepare the palace for my return.
I guess it was the second season. They were doing auditions for monsters. And I saw Lord Zed. I said, who's this? So I read the description and I read the paragraph of dialogue. And something just struck me about it. The writing was good, the language was superior. I asked Scott, you mind if I read for Lord Zed? I thought he was just one of these monsters who would come and go. And he says, oh, sure, take it home. So I took Lord Zed page home and a couple of other monsters, but it became clear to me that I forgot about the other monsters. I wanted to concentrate on Lord Zed.
Relax, my vision of ugliness. Mondo the Magician is an old friend. The power dwarfs don't stand a chance against his magic.
It was fun to be able to chew the scenery like that. They had to get a special mic for me because I have a tendency to break mics with that voice.
It's time to bring the Power Rangers to their knees. Their end is near.
I knew I was in trouble. I wasn't going to be able to sustain the voice. And I know season 1, probably through the first 2/3, I hadn't found the voice. It just was, funky. I mean, it was there, but it was all in my throat.
First we separate Jason from the others. Then Rita grows you real tall. And then we crush him.
And I found a way to roll Goldar's voice over the top of my chords. So there's a lot of air in the voice. There's a lot of air. I'm not what they call scratching the chord. It's a subtle little, but I could feel it.
You 3 darlings have been personally chosen by His Majesty Lord Zed.
Lord who?
The great Emperor of Evil, the Desperado of Despair. Believe me, it is quite an honor.
And I would have to have my headset pretty hot, just like rockers that need their monitors hot. They got to be able to hear what they're doing and the placement. And as long as I had good hot headsets, there. Good, got it in my head, good to go. 45 minutes, clean. I could walk away after 45, record anything, had full range.
Quiet! For the journey to Earth, I will need a crew of my best warriors!
Oh, me. And the Divatox pick me!
Rygog!
Yes, my liege.
You will be second in command. You will navigate the oceans as well as the skies.
They made the movie of Power Rangers Turbo, and Hillary Shepard played Divatox. And during the shooting, she got pregnant, and so she wasn't able to do the series. So I auditioned and was cast as Divatox. And I had never seen her, so when I auditioned the first time, it was never having seen her done it. And so it was interesting because we both had very similar takes on the character. So that was cool.
I just wanted to be here personally to extend my congratulations. Get them!
It was a blast to be Divatox and order my minions around and get the Power Rangers, because they were, of course, my arch enemy. And I also had the privilege of playing my sister, who was called Demetria, who was there to help the Power Rangers.
Is not who you are much more than the Power Rangers, Tommy? Are the questions you have the reasons your faces have these expressions?
Well, Zordon told us he'd send someone to take his place, but we really didn't know what to expect.
Would you be surprised to learn that there are many unexpected events in your future, Rangers?
I think I brought a lot of good camp and shtick. One of the nicest reviews I got was from TV Guide, and they said I was like Catwoman's Julie Newmar. And that was really flattering and exciting because I was very big and conniving, and it was just a lot of fun to be able to be over the top and to wear those kinds of costumes.
Yes! Yes! Oh, I love it! Demetria's friend, destroyed by her own precious Rangers!
What was really nice is I knew martial arts, and so the producers who cast me had me actually fighting with the Rangers, which hadn't been done before. So that was really fun to have some scenes where I got to work with the Rangers, or once I took the Red Ranger and tied him up and had rats crawling all over him, things like that. So that was fun.
I want him to suffer all the trials and tribulations he put me through. I want him to beg for mercy. In your dreams. It'll never happen, Divatox.
One of my favorite episodes was the pizza episode, where I'd lost my memory and I was working in the pizza parlor, not realizing I was Divatox, and my minions were trying to get me back to realize who I was, and so that was fun.
Yeah, what is it, buddy?
Divatox, don't you recognize me?
Yeah, I know a lot of guys with aquariums on their heads. You could be any one of them.
But, Divatox, it's me, Porto.
There were just so many fun scenes that you get to play. Like one scene when I shrunk the Rangers and I got to have a tongue that was like 15 inches long and to try and eat them or something. It's the fantasy of it, and the cartoon of being a live action cartoon is a lot of fun.
Tell me, Mirror, who's the most beautiful girl in the universe?
I I am Cremummy, and I can tell you what you seek.
Go ahead then, as if I don't already know the answer.
You are the most beautiful, as well as a lot of other girls on Terra Venture, of course.
A lot of other girls! You get down there and steal the beauty from every single one of them, or I'll feed you to my father. Got it?
Trakina is a spoiled princess, daughter of Scorpius, who's used to getting her way all the time and pretty much doing whatever she wants, regardless of the consequences.
Amy is stunning. She's just a stunningly beautiful, gorgeous woman, and like her outfit and everything that they did to bring that character to life was just fabulous.
Trakina's makeup was very elaborate, and a lot of people don't even realize this, but the suit that I wore most of the time was a cat suit, and it went across like with an open neck like this. All of the stuff that people could see on my neck was stenciled on. It was makeup. My hands were all makeup, and then my face had a lot of makeup. Hair was all concealed, so it took quite a bit of work to get all that underneath the headgear. It was just a lot of steps to get me to camera ready.
I'd like to stay for dinner, but I got a hella ship to catch.
Not so fast!
You're not going anywhere.
You promised you'd let us go.
Hello, I'm evil. I lied.
One of the best things that happened to me from being on the show was meeting Amy. She's my wife. So we met on the show.
It's an interesting story when people say, so how did you two meet? To say, oh, we met working on a TV show, and he was a good guy and I was a bad guy. And they're always like, what? But it is an interesting story.
Humans, Diabolico! They built their cities right on top of our palace!
Have they?
Just look! They built their ugly city on our sacred ground! No palace, no queen, no ultimate power!
We will have our palace back after we destroy their miserable city brick by brick.
We were lucky to have Diabolico, which I think is one of the coolest villains on Power Rangers, because he wasn't all evil. I mean, I see him raising the character of Ryan Mitchell as somewhere in there he was trying to do something. And then when Queen Banshira comes down later in the season, he kind of ends up fighting her. I don't know, he's the interesting villain to me, because you can't really figure him out.
Well, if it isn't the Power Rangers.
I am Vipra. I'm glad we finally met, so I can destroy you.
I would say Vipra was a troublemaker. She was a half human, half snake sorceress. And I think that she was more like a fun, evil character, but she actually just had her little minions do stuff for her.
Once it's recharged, I'll lay waste to Mariner Bay. So our Queen Banshira will rise. Again.
We met Jennifer, bubbly, bright personality, and we didn't know who she was. She introduced herself, as herself, not as, oh, I'm playing this role. And then we found out later, oh, she's playing with the Vipra character. We were just like, really? Like, no way, because we couldn't see any signs of a villain in this person.
Her costume made her look so scary, but she never stopped laughing when she was on set, which was very rare, again, because she was always second unit. So the few times we actually did get to work together, I loved that girl.
I always remember this laugh coming from Jennifer.
It was really hard because I love to laugh, and my laugh is very robust and real, but when you have me do an evil laugh, it was really hard. So I did have to constantly go on ADR to do it over and over again. It was terrible. It was terrible. No, I admit, like, my laugh was so bad on the show. I can't even, I will never be able to watch myself.
If I can't rule the present, then I'll just rule the past!
In the name of Time Force, I place you under arrest.
You don't know what you're up against.
You don't know what you're up against, Ransik.
The bad guy from our season, the main
villain was Vernon Wells, who was such a joy to work with.
He's one of the best bad guys out there. And when they got Edward Albert and they got Vernon to be on the show, they were shocked that they were able to get him. I mean, because these guys have done so much quality work, and let's face it, motion pictures and you know, working on Mad Max with Mel Gibson.
My dad was just like losing his mind. And of course, I was so excited, a lot because of Weird Science, because of Vernon's part in Weird Science, and that was right in my age demographic.
They had so many years of professional experience that for those of us that were relatively new to this, we were like sponges soaking off of what they did. So it made the show as a whole 100 times better.
I wouldn't be smiling if I had your future.
The future is full of surprises.
The first day on set, I was like, "Are you Vernon Wells?" And he's like, "Yeah."
And she came running over and leapt into my arms with her legs around my waist and her hands around my neck. And she went, "So who are you playing?" And I went, "I think I play the guy that kills your boyfriend." And she went, "I don't like you," and walked away. It was just this amazing, like, 3 minutes of my life. I was like, who the hell was that?
And that was, and is to this day, our relationship. I keep in touch with him. I see him and his wife, you know, very frequently.
Erin Cahill is still one of my best friends. I see Erin all the time, and I adore her. And I run into the whole cast at different functions. I see them. And it's just like we've all never left. You know, we're all back together and we have so much fun.
There's only one way to have true power in this century. Cash.
You're as smart as you are sweet. Katie and I got along famously. I mean, she was just out of control to work with. I mean, seriously, she was. And she just loved her thing, you know. I mean, I'm sure she slept in her costume. She was just so into being that character.
Daddy, there's 6 Rangers now. What are we going to do?
The Rangers have the power of the Quantum Ranger, but I'm going to get Quantosaurus Rex! That costume, oh, was it fun. I had so much grief in that costume. It was unbelievable. I think the first scene of the first day of shooting, I tore the ligaments in my knee because the boots was so heavy. I mean, the whole costume looked wonderful, I have to admit, but it had its limitations. I would keep getting stuck in the toilet. Whenever they put the costume on me with the huge shoulder pads, I would go to the toilet and I would turn and then I was jammed. I couldn't turn either way or get out the door, so they'd have to dismantle the toilet to get me out. So they made this rule that I was not allowed to use the toilet in my trailer. I kept getting stuck in it. And the only way I could relax was to actually lay in the trailer on the floor with the top end of my body out the door because the whole lot of me wouldn't fit in. It was a lot of fun at times.
Ransik!
There's nowhere to run, traitor.
But, Ransik,
What? Take him away. The end of it was interesting, the way they made that play out. I thought was very well done, you know, like the megalomaniac in the whole thing was not my character. It was the robot, which I thought was a great twist to the whole thing. And then the fact that my character had to defeat him. And then the way they took that back to discover that he had been this doctor who had discovered me. They tied it together really nicely that you understood where all the characters came from. And in basically coming so close to destroying my own daughter was where I think they made a great passion play, really, you know, that he just went, you know, enough, you know, I'm finished. And then they did the reunion show, and he goes back in his Hawaiian shirt, and he's a really cool dude. I thought that was a lot of fun. It was just kind of out there.
Even now, our armies are being reborn. There is a new orc. Go find him. He's wreaking havoc on the city.
Yes, right
away.
We had Elia
playing Master Org, and then Danny as Jindrax and Sin Wong playing Toxica. Ilya, I barely ever really saw him. It seemed like he was in hair and makeup forever, all day long. But I also think he was on the other unit, mostly, fighting the helmet heads, and we were on the first unit, acting. Sin and I had some scenes where we were, making fun of each other. I kept calling her grandma because she was supposed to be super old, but super sweet girl, super sweet. Danny also, love him, and we saw them more than we would see Master Org.
Okay, so what I'm gonna do is give you a light top coat to protect against chipping and cracking.
For the last time, I'm an evil space ninja, not a male model. Just a light trim and buff.
See, I told you. No fashion sense, huh?
We had a villain who was comedic. And the fans didn't like it. They wanted the villain to be serious. And I was like, man, dude, he's funny. And his nieces, Mara and Capri, they were goofy and dopey and sort of did stupid stuff. And it was much more comedic. And the fans were not that psyched about it.
And they wonder why I have acid reflux.
And it's funny because the guy who played Lothar, the goofy villain, came back for the reunion show the next year, and he wouldn't play his goofiness. He was serious because he was so blown apart by the fan reaction of him being goofy that he didn't want to be goofy anymore. So we couldn't get him to go back to being his character.
You're back!
We had some awesome villains.
Venjix. That was my favorite villain because Shane's character had a lot to do with Venjix, and he was actually really cool. Wicked fighter.
I don't understand. I thought you were dead. I mean, the island was destroyed.
Well, I was lucky, Tommy. From the looks of it, we both were.
Well, Anton Mercer was a scientist. He's a wealthy scientist who was experimenting with DNA and genetics, had a corporation, and had legitimate scientific interests, and had a son who he didn't realize was a Power Ranger, and is a single dad. Mesogog, on the other hand, separate from Anton Mercer, is an evil dinosaur humanoid who wants to rule the world.
As long as I am alive, my plan to bring back our time of glory will go on as scheduled. Power Rangers or no Power Rangers.
Mesogog is a pretty mean guy. He's always trying to take over the world and just do really evil things, and we're always trying to stop him.
I have to give Doug Sloan a lot of credit. Doug Sloan is a very creative producer of the Power Rangers at that time, and he and I talked about how we wanted to scare kids. Doug just said, I want you to make it scary as, beep. So I took that as a great opportunity, wanting to really scare kids.
I have waited far too long to allow an insignificant teenager to get in my way. Now, where are the Dino Gems?
It was really important to me that Mesogog was nuanced, and it was important to me that Mesogog had a lot of layers to his character, that he was calm. An evil laugh was something I told Doug Sloan at the beginning I wouldn't do. And every director who would come on the series, I would tell them I wouldn't do this. So in the interest of trying to be really scary, we did some slightly different things. So I like to think that I brought a little creativity to playing Mesogog.
Like obedient dogs, I speak, and they come.
I could save you some trouble. Good guys always win.
I suppose that all depends on who you believe the good guys to be.
I did that audition, and they asked me to come back for a callback. And at the callback, the casting director said, look, we want to do something slightly unusual for this callback. You're not going to have any dialogue, but we want you to act like a dinosaur. And I think I remember saying, like, you mean walk around like a dinosaur, or am I supposed to make noises? She said, I'm not sure. We just want you to act like a dinosaur. So this was funny. I actually went home, and I think I had to do it the next day. And that was where the thing with my cat came in. I was watching him. I saw that he was mad at this other cat, and he kind of put his ears back, and he kind of went, and I thought, that could be it. I thought that could be sort of Mesogog's angle. And of course, I spent a few minutes walking around like a T-Rex and kind of put my arms up and kind of going like this in the mirror and like looking and thinking, well, that looks dumb. And I didn't really know what to do, but I had a physicality, I think, that I brought into the callback. And I guess they liked that because a few days later I came in to meet with Doug, and Doug and I mostly talked about my background. And I think I did the Anton Mercer scene one more time. But to answer your question about the days leading up to the audition, it was partially trying to figure out how to be a dinosaur.
Do not let him escape with that stone. Go!
The thing I remember most about Latham is that he always had to have on this giant costume, this like mean-looking costume with this helmet and everything. And he never complained. Again, it was always hot, you know, and never complained, nothing out of him, you know. Whereas me, I would be taking it off every 2 seconds, you know, trying to get air.
Whenever you are working on something where you have prosthetics or you have any kind of over-the-top makeup or things like that, you'll often do a camera test. And this was no different with Mesogog. We did a camera test. So the first day that I had the head on and I had the clothes on and everything else, I put it on and we came in and Doug said, you know, let's do a test and we'll go away and we'll look at it. But at that time I stopped him because I had just put it on. I literally had just put it on. I hadn't even looked in the mirror and they rushed me over there. I said, if you wouldn't mind, I'd love just 20 minutes or something to go away. And then let me come back and let's do the camera test. And that was actually quite big. And again, this is one of the reasons I loved working with Doug Sloan so much. He was very creative. He was a producer, but his eye was always on the quality of it and not necessarily maybe some other producers less creative than that. So he let me go away. And when I went away, I think was when the voice happened largely because even though I didn't intend the voice to be recorded that day, I wanted the voice and we needed the voice as a placeholder in any case.
The new Dinozord has the Rangers on the ropes. Send one of our mutations down to finish the job.
I think you get it on, you get in the mirror, and you start to move, and you start to talk. And I realized that
he talked like this, Mesogog. Next time you come in here, you better have a dead body with you, or you'll be next.
So I think I was doing that sort of thing in the mirror, and I thought, well, this will work as a placeholder. But as it turned out, it was really right. And I think the helmet, the head to a certain extent, amplified the voice a little bit. So we got lucky. You know, it was one of those things you got lucky on the first day where it kind of the voice was right and kind of started doing it. And I was able to keep doing that voice. And that's really where it came from. So yeah, I still bust it out when I get asked.
Teenagers are like mice. They can be easily trapped. However, you must first know where to place the bait.
For the record, we actually did absolutely nothing to the voice. The voice was recorded live on set when we would do the takes, and then that was used on the show. One of my favorite scenes, and certainly the most difficult scene, would have been the series of shots and scenes that showed Anton Mercer becoming Mesogog. So in a little bit, a kind of a traditional Jekyll and Hyde setup, Anton Mercer's working in the lab late one night. He drinks something he shouldn't probably drink. And that sequence is a little bit terrifying. It's quite scary. You know, when I've watched it back, it's quite scary. So he physically is in a lot of pain. He starts to roll around. His face slowly starts to turn into Mesogog. So there's a transformation that happens that we had to film that was difficult and came out, I think, I was quite proud of how it came out because it was really, truly scary. One of the elements to it, Paul Grinder was the director on this one, where they strapped a 16 millimeter camera to my chest and did a shot that you'll see in movies sometimes where the thing is kind of right here on you, and as you move, it captures every single thing you're doing, and the effect is one of kind of a nightmare. And they put all this slime in my mouth that I'd never had before, and I'm opening it, and the slime's coming out, and I'm passing out and turning into and convulsing, and that was the hardest filming day by far, but one of my favorite scenes in the sense that it has the right kind of scariness to it to show what it may be like to turn into Mesogog for the first time.
Sir, although storing the artifact and the carbon energy formation has helped, it hasn't completely released itself.
What are you telling me, Elsa?
We need more time.
Elsa's basically his sidekick. She's just always there to do everything he says.
Miriam is a Kiwi actress who's been around for a long time. I knew Miriam a little bit before, and certainly I've seen her a lot since then. She's great. She's a real pro.
She's somebody I'll never forget. She was like a mother figure, actually, because, you know, I moved out there pretty young, so she was always somebody I would turn to for advice, and always the greatest advice. Principal Randall, I'd just like to mention the fact that there's absolutely no hard evidence linking me to that unfortunate sprinkler incident.
Save it for Judge Judy, Mr. James.
Maybe my favorite moment from filming of the entire season could have been one of these things that is on film somewhere, but I don't think has ever been seen. What it is at the end of the season, Kira, Emma Lahana's character, does a music video. Doug and the directors and the production are, on this day when I'm getting ready to film some Mesogog scenes, doing this fairly elaborate music video for Emma, doing this original song. It's a great song. They're shooting a kind of a traditional music video. She's on a spinning stage, and there's a fan, and I'm in my Mesogog gear kind of waiting to do my scene, as you do. We're waiting for this to be done. Now, Doug was sitting there and he's watching and I'm watching, and I turned to Doug in the middle of this and I said, wouldn't that be funny if Mesogog just kind of showed up in Kira's video? Would that be cool? And Doug just loved it. Doug flipped. He said, look, get the head on. Let's get Mesogog going. Let me stop here for a second. Let me give you the lyrics. They gave me a sheet of lyrics with the chorus from this song on there, which I can't remember what it's called now. So anyway, for 5 minutes, I just quickly studied the lyrics, got the Mesogog gear on. Next thing I know, I'm on a spinning wheel with the fan, kind of dancing to the music and mouthing these lyrics to Kira's song and spinning around. The crew's like containing themselves and trying not to laugh out loud, and we're filming it. I nailed the whole chorus, and we stopped, and everyone just was rolling on the floor laughing. And Doug said that's the funniest footage all year that no one will ever see. So I've never seen it. I'm not sure who has seen it, but it's in some, probably some vault somewhere. But would love to bust that out someday, because Mesogog got down on that music video, and he had skills. So that was one of my favorite moments from the season.
Fly, my warriors. Victory is near. If I know Kruger, he will send his best and brightest to stop the attack, leaving Earth completely defenseless.
One of the genius things I think that Greg and Bruce, the producers of the show, did with our season was they invented their own villain from scratch.
When Bruce and I were analyzing the footage from Japan, the biggest thing we noticed was that there was not a really powerful overall villain. It wasn't a nemesis. We had our group of heroes and we had the monster or robot of the week, but we didn't have someone with a master plan. And I think within the different versions of Power Rangers, there's different characters. Each season there's a villain after a different thing. And sometimes there's just villains that their whole job is to just make monsters to fight Power Rangers. But I was like, that's not gonna fly. Like, we need a deep story that really makes these guys need to rise to the occasion. And that's when we developed Gruum.
Emperor Gruum was a very bad baddie, I guess. They call them baddies in New Zealand where we filmed, they always short form everything. I thought that was pretty cute. But he always sent his crybots. They're always stirring up trouble for us.
I sent you to Earth to get the proton accelerator. You returned with nothing. Therefore, you shall be nothing.
Gruum was one of those few instances where we worked backwards. I kind of went right to the design phase before we had a strong storyline or character. I just knew I was trying to create like the ultimate Power Rangers villain. I wanted something that would fit into the existing canon, and if you lined them up with other people, wouldn't look completely out of place, but I also wanted to put that extra little something so it wasn't just a pullover mask. I also was trying to emulate some of my favorite villains growing up, which happened to be cartoon characters from the company we were working with, and a little of that got shut down because they're like, whoa, that's weird that you have, I had this particular set of horns that belong to a witch and a dragon from a famous cartoon about a sleeping princess, and they chopped those off. So then we went to these blade horns, and then we decided to cut one off and make that not only a notable visual character thing, but part of the story that would kind of culminate at the end of the series. And I'm just super into brains. I think, the human brain is just the craziest looking, like it's the original computer and nothing else is like it. So I was like, I love anytime I can show a brain. And I was like, if Gruum has so much on his mind, he's like so overwhelmed with like his evil thoughts,
Like, how cool would it be if we can actually look into his mind, you know? I'm making all that up right now. I'm just putting a brain in. I don't know why I did it. But I then decided we would connect that later because we wanted an even bigger villain to like kind of play kind of like the Vader Emperor thing, which ended up becoming a huge brain. So maybe, I don't know, maybe Omni actually like gave Gruum a lobotomy and that's why he is the way he is. That we'll leave that up for discussion.
Let me finish our battle now, once and for all.
No! Your obsession with Kruger means nothing to me. Completing my magnificence is all that matters.
But great Omni!
Silence!
And then I made him like the skull mask, and the idea behind that was a little more practical than design. I wanted to be able to do a makeup appliance. The big concern from the company was time. They were just like, you know, again, you're writing, you're directing, now you're going to apply makeup every morning? Like, you're going to get up at 4 o'clock and apply makeup? And I'm like, well, that'll be hard because I was already up till 3:30 sculpting other characters for next week's show. So I was like, what if I do like a half makeup, you know? So he is prosthetic from the cheekbones down and then has a mask that goes on. It looks cool and it kind of lessened the time. I think in the end we were getting his makeup on in about 30 minutes.
I have felt it. It can mean only one thing. The evil has awakened from its slumber. I will send one of my minions to find it for me. Yes, an army with the stone at its side would be most powerful. I will use it to destroy the Power Rangers and crush anything that gets in my way.
And then, you know, of course, just working with Ren, the actor, the sweetest guy you could ever meet, just a massive, hulking man, but like so gentle. He has kids, he has his kids on set, but man, when he got villainous, it was evil.
He really made that character scary. He was scary to me, and I know he's still scary because I've just started to watch the show with my 4.5-year-old daughter, and she's terrified of him. And I think that's really important. You need to feel the villain is treacherous enough that you need saving from. And I think that Broodwing, who is voiced by Jim, was a great henchman to Gruum, but I don't think scary enough to the kind of kids watching today where they would buy that he could really kind of terrify an entire Earth and really need the Power Rangers to step in. What Greg and Bruce did in creating Gruum was physically made someone terrifying looking, and the idea of him was also kind of like you buy that this guy has a vendetta against our commander, which makes a rich storyline, but also you kind of buy that, like, I don't want to mess with that guy. And I think that was something very cool that they did.
Those three are more powerful than we thought.
They don't know the meaning of power, but soon they will when I unleash my fury.
Well, we got 2 really good villains in our season. Yeah, I thought Bede and Holly were both awesome.
I really liked Jared's journey. He was like, you know, he was a bit of a rebel at school. You know, he had a bit of bad in him. But I liked how Casey saw the good in him always. The whole time he was trying to fight, you know, to fight the Dai Shi out. That's how I felt. Like he was, you know, the Dai Shi took over him, the evil spirit.
I thought the whole idea of Dai Shi was done really well, even when they weren't on screen, the way that we talked about him and the way we built him up. I thought the writers did a really good job with that.
The Dai Shi was pretty bad, and he was played by Bede Skinner, and he had to wear these tight leather pants, and I tell you, we thought that the stunties had a bad job having to have those foam things. At least they breathed. I don't think this leather breathed at all, so yeah, that guy, he did a very good job, I think.
And Holly, as a sidekick, I thought was just phenomenal and embodied that character and really nailed it.
Camille was also a little bit of a chameleon. She also became good. They all sort of came good in the end, didn't they, really?
The villain in RPM was kind of different because he was a computer virus.
It started 3 years ago. The World Internet Federation reported the appearance of an aggressive new computer worm, Venjix Virus. A year later, it was estimated that Venjix had already infected 37% of the world's computer systems. By then, it was too late. Venjix took control of the world's communication, power, and defense systems. It built armies of advanced robotic soldiers that laid waste to everything in their path. There was no stopping them, and Venjix declared victory.
I am Venjix. Your world is now my world, and your time is now over.
Venjix was much like Zordon in that he's really just a talking voice that for the majority of the time that you ever hear him on set, like the actual filming of it, it's just one of the ADs kind of just reading the offlines. So you really do have to use your imagination in that.
I have been working on this next machine design for some time. Call it a pet project. Generals, I'd like to introduce you to Dai 7. You see, this time I have created something that looks truly frightening, truly terrible, something that looks human.
We were very fortunate with Dai 7 at Adelaide, who brought this very sassy kind of energy to the whole thing where we can all get together and have a reason and have a purpose and have a good arc in our story if we have something that we're up against and challenging. And especially when it was such a complicated storyline between her and Daniel's character, Dylan, to just be able to have this interesting tension and a relationship kind of conflict in there that we could work with.
Centuries ago in Japan, Nylok monsters invaded our world, but samurai warriors defeated them with power symbols passed down from parent to child. Today, the evil Nylok have risen once again and plan to flood the earth. Luckily, a new generation of heroes stand in their way. They are the Power Rangers Samurai.
On our show, we had the villain Master Xandred, and for generations, he's been trying to basically flood the world with the Sanzu River, where he's from.
I actually kind of preferred Deckard, Rick's portrayal, more than Xandred, because Xandred was never there. We never really got to, like, duke it out with him. I mean, except for the final episodes. But yeah, you need that villain. I mean, otherwise it's just kind of teenagers running around in brightly colored spandex going, woo! You know, it's like you need that conflict to make it real.
There's days where I've seen scenes or I've seen them shooting certain stuff and it was just really creepy, really scary. And sometimes I thought, oh my gosh, this is too scary for some kids to watch this. But, you know, it just makes the show exciting.
I've analyzed Earth, Admiral. This is a good planet to invade. But the humans, I hope they won't pose a problem.
Humans are used to the small, harmless insects on their planet. Wait until we land.
We have the aliens, and then we have the mutated bugs that have been mutated because of the pollution that we've created as humans. And they actually get together and fight against us to take over Earth.
You gotta have somebody that just symbolizes the really terrible things that, you know, monsters and humans can do in life, so that the kids can watch it and get an idea and go, you know what? I'm gonna get in my spandex and I'm gonna kick these guys' butts. That's what I hope.
Follow my lead. It's morphin' time.
Go, go, Mega Boys!
The Power Rangers is funny with the fans. They are all over the place, in every occupation, in every corner of the globe, and you'd be surprised how often I get recognized still, and by whom I get recognized. You know, there was actually a funny story. I was in New York City recently, and I was going bowling with my wife and friends of ours, and we went into this cool bowling alley. There's a real cool guy working at the front who just looks like he doesn't have time for us. Do you have a reservation? And he sort of looks up and he goes, oh, damn. Oh, it's Anton Mercer. Anton Mercer. Holy, I can't believe it's Anton Mercer.
At one point when the show was running, my brother was doing a children's party. He has a camp, and he wanted me to call as Divatox to talk to the kids. And so I called, happy birthday, and oh, I'm going to get those Power Rangers. And the kids all started crying. He's like, what did you do? I'm like, I didn't do anything. So then I had to call back as Demetria and say, it's okay, everything's going to be fine. But to have that kind of impact on children who then grow up and to be remembered is exciting. It's like being a little part of cinematic history in a fun sort of way.
Probably the best years of my life. The most fun, the glory days. Look at me getting emotional right out of the gate.
It's just been a wonderful surprise. I mean, I can't believe it has been 20 years. I can't believe that we are still getting to do things with Power Rangers so many years after our season was finished.
I feel like there's something I did right, you know, with my little girl dreams of wanting to do something and make an impact.
I'm proud to have been a part of it. You know, Mesogog will always live inside me. You know, the creation that Doug Sloan and I came up with together will always be there. And it was great fun, and I'm grateful that I was part of it.
I think my favorite times were the friends that I made, the excitement of doing the live action, and I guess in some respects it'll end up being a claim to fame.
If they ever decided to bring back the Lord Zed character, I would think about doing it.
It was a credit to everybody, the writers, the cast, the directors, producers. It was a credit to everybody that they were able to put that thing together and we were able to make it work so well.
I got to play Villainous on a hit TV show that everybody knows about. If they haven't seen it, they've certainly heard of it. And I mean, I think it's great. And like I said, I hope that my future kids will think it's cool too.
The only fan debate that matters at all to Mesogog is who's the best bad guy of all time in Power Rangers history. You know, you have Lord Zed and you have Rita Repulsa and you have whatever other early, you know, hack bad guys that you want to throw out there for who's the best one. And like I said, there are some scary early villains, and I have mad respect for everyone who was involved with creating those villains. But Mesogog is second to none. Mesogog will take any of those fools on any day. Give him a time, give him a place, and he'll be there.